Hello, Evelyn. Hello, Evelyn.
Hello, sir, I can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Next. So, can you see my screen, please? I'm sharing.
I can see your slide.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
I
sir.
am also start going live on from our campus.
Facebook.
So, yeah. So you are going to be letting people, but don't let anybody in yet. Just
Okay.
I've gone. Yeah. Don't let anybody in yet.
Okay.
But once it's I don't know now. Once it's time, start letting people in. Okay. So I think we're live on Facebook. You can check, Sha, at your end.
Yeah, I'm seeing live.
Okay,
Let
same
me.
thing. Same same thing on okay, that's fine.
Yes, sir, we are live now. So we are on Facebook now. We are live on Facebook.
So Evelyn, yeah, so
I can hear you,
part
sir.
of the thing that you'll be doing is muting everybody's mic at your end or muting all the mics so that people don't talk when I'm
Okay.
so I
Okay.
can focus on my presentation. Yeah, so we're going to start in the
All
next
right, sir.
2 minutes. You can start admitting people in. Start
Okay.
admitting
Okay.
people. Yeah. Then mute my mic. Then you can unmute me later. I want to just quickly do something. Hello, everyone. You're welcome. It's taken a few minutes, and we'll be going on live in a few minutes. The next 2 minutes, we'll just go right into our conversation for the day. You're welcome. Nora, I see you. Just want to be sure. There seemed to be a feedback, like a delay. I don't know why. That's what we're experiencing. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in this evening. There's definitely a delay because as I speak, I can't hear myself, but it comes back as a feedback. Evelyn, please, are you there? Can you hear me? Just, I need to be sure because we're
Yeah,
starting right now. Can you
I
hear
Yeah,
me
we
as I'm
can hear
speaking?
you,
can
Dr. Toto.
hear
We can hear
you.
you.
I
Okay,
can hear you,
okay,
sir.
okay. Can you hear the voice going on now?
Yes, I can hear you, but it's not echoing on. It's not echoing on my part, but I can hear you clearly.
Talking right now. There's a recording going on now. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for the
No,
feedback.
I think you are using your laptop. So
Yes, I'm using my laptop.
that is why, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. I know. I now know. Okay, I know exactly where it's coming from. Okay, I think I've solved my problem. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, wherever you may be listening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our webinar. I believe it's going to be interesting. I believe it will be worth your time. Today, we will be discussing on the subject tools for building a healthy self-esteem. So let me just go right ahead to share my um, my slide. Tools for building a healthy self-esteem. Just in case we're meeting for the first time, I am Dr. Otefe Edebi. I am a mental health consultant. I'm a psychiatrist and a psychologist. I'm the medical director of the Grace Hill Place Hospital, um, an indigenous mental health facility here in Nigeria. And the conversation, like I said earlier today, will be on how to build your a healthy self-esteem. So our learning objectives will be four things a lot of people often draw their value from. Of course, basically we'll talk about what is self-esteem in the first place, and then talk about four things, or what I love to call the four P's, where a lot of people draw their self value from, or four places a lot of people draw their self value from, and how a healthy self-esteem looks like. So when we talk about before we talk about how to build a healthy self-esteem, we want to look at what does it look like. If you say someone has a healthy self-esteem, how does it look? And then finally we will be talking about the cruise cross for the day, which is the 7 ways, strategies, tools to build a healthier self-esteem. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of self-esteem, whether you have you have low self-esteem, healthy self-esteem already, whatever, wherever you are on the spectrum, there's always room for improvement. So this conversation is for people who want to know more about how to build a healthier self-esteem. And like I said earlier, thank you once again for joining in. Let's go right into it. So, what is self esteem? Self esteem basically refers to how you feel about yourself. In very simple words, is how you feel about yourself, or in other words, your opinion of yourself. Not what people think about you, but what you think about yourself, your opinion of yourself, how you value yourself. The word esteem is actually gotten from the Latin word estimare, which means to value or to appraise. So it's the appraisal. When if someone tells you to write an appraisal of yourself, what would you write about yourself? How would you value yourself? That is what the whole concept of self-esteem is about. Everyone lacks confidence at some point, once in a while, depending on the scenario and the situation. At some point in your life, you may have experienced some form of lack of confidence in addressing a situation. But people who struggle with an unhealthy self-esteem, or more precisely, people who have low self-esteem, often are continuously, and more often than not, they feel unhappy and unsatisfied with themselves most of the time. Self-esteem, actually, the value you place upon yourself, which refers to your self-esteem, kind of also affects your quality of life, you having your best life. If you don't place so much value on yourself, you will not be able to have your best the best version of yourself. At this point, it reminds me of something that happened many years back. I was in primary school at this time. I had so we had inter-house sport coming up. The sport, a sport event that normally will come up. Some of us are familiar with the term inter-house sports. So I belong to this group. The house, my house. Then I can't remember the color of my house, but I remember that there was this particular individual by name Gabriel. Now, in my house, between me and Gabriel, we were the fastest in my house, and I was faster than Gabriel. At least I would always win Gabriel in our house competition, always win him. No matter how close he came, I would always win, because somewhere in my head, I did not like to lose. But when it came to the major event, where we're now going to compete with the other houses, and so we had this individual, I can't even remember his name now, and there were two particular individuals. One was the fastest in the school. So my prediction was that that guy was going to come first. And then the second guy was the second fastest in the school. I still can't remember his name now. And so he was definitely in my mind going to come second. But then there was now two guys that, interestingly, I remember their names, Shegun and Henry. Now Shegun and Henry were like the third fastest um, persons as at that time in my primary school. And so for me, the first position was already taken. The second position was already taken. The third position, in my mind, and the way I valued myself, who I was, and my capability, was that the third position was definitely going to go between Shegun or Henry. So, and back then, I used to really have a very strong fear for failure, or fear for embarrassment. So I decided, in my little child's wisdom, that I didn't want to compete because already the first position was taken, second position was definitely taken, and the third position was going to go between Henry and Shegun. So why bother? Why bother to run in the first place? So that was my conclusion. Why bother? But yet there was Gabriel. Gabriel, that I was always better than in my house, said he wanted to run. So I said, okay, Gabriel, you know what? Since you want to run, you may be more willing to disgrace your family name, but I am not willing to disgrace my own family name. So Gabriel, take my place. Now, the leader of my house has said you are the fastest, so you would represent our house. So, but this conversation was between me and Gabriel. Gabriel was like, I want to run, I want to run. I'm like, well, take my place. So Gabriel went into this race, and the race started. So true to my prediction, just like I predicted, being a great prophet that I was as a little child, the first person was in the was up front, taking his first position, like I predicted. The second person was taking his second position, like I also predicted. And then at the middle of the race, there was Shegun and Harry slugging it out, literally slugging it out, going head to head. And so for me, it was about who was going to win between Shegun and Harry. As the race progressed and as they got close to the finish line, Gabriel came out of nowhere, literally nowhere, and came in between Shegun and Henry. And Gabriel came third. Can you imagine? Gabriel actually came third. And for the life of me, I was like, wow, how did he do that? I, and I know for certain that if I had run, if I'd entered that race, I would definitely have come behind Shegun and Henry. Not, but yeah, Gabriel had no, the value he placed on himself and the value he placed on his capability played out that particular day. No wonder, I think it was Maxwell Maltz, the author of Cybernetics. He said, having a low self-esteem is like running through life with your handbrakes on. So it limits you. It doesn't allow you to live your best version. When you do not place so much value on yourself, on who you are, or what you can do. Now, the challenge with self-esteem comes from a lot of places. I mean, it's not something that you are born with, and I'm going to talk more about that much later. It's not like it's something that you are born with. It is something that through the years, through life experiences, it begins to impact on your view and how you value yourself and how who you think you are. So I'm going to just talk about some of the things, some of the places where these experiences come from. They come from experiences like neglect or abuse during childhood. It has a way it impacts on how you value yourself, how you see yourself. If you've gone through, life as a child not being valued or being neglected. It also comes from not meeting up with people's expectation. Maybe they say you're supposed to be this, or the standard that people create. It could be your parents, it could be family, it could be friends. The expectations people have of you. They expect you to meet up with a certain criteria, and for that reason, you can't meet up with that. Those things have a way they impact on your self-esteem. It also comes from a place where, especially during the adolescent age, where you have to fit in to with your peers, and in that season of your life, you kind of stand out. You're the odd man out because at the age of adolescence, psychologically, we say that's the time where you are trying to um, understand your role and understand your identity. So events in those time of your life they have a way of impacting on you. Sometimes it's also um, it comes from not necessarily a bad experience, but it can come from little praise. So let's say maybe going through life uh, as a child or as an individual, maybe your family or elsewhere, you don't get enough praise. You don't get enough acknowledgement for your successes. Like sometimes some people go through life whereby they do well, but it's like default. The adults in their life or the people in their life just have a way of always saying, but you should have done better, but you should have gotten this right. No praise for what is being gotten right, and just constantly being criticized. All of those things have a way they impact on your self-esteem. Now, the issue is that it doesn't stop there. When you come into the workplace and you come into adult life, and when we talk about how a healthy self-esteem looks, we will begin to see that quite a number of people actually struggle with unhealthy self-esteem even into their adulthood. And why is this so? There's a concept that was put forward by I think it was Dr. Merlin. She said many times people have, so through the years, even though events have happened in time past, maybe you went through an abuse, or you had an issue during your adolescent age, or you didn't receive enough praise and all of that, they people have something what she called the bottom line. That's they summarize their life with one simple event. And we're going to look at those things that people often summarize their life. And they just, and she called it the bottom line, where it's like an overly simplistic way of viewing yourself. You just take one event, or you take a few certain events, and then you define yourself by those few certain events, such that no matter what happens, you kind of always just go back to the bottom line. Close to her theory was something also that was put forward by another clinical psychologist called Dr. Kess. She talked about the concept of, she looked at it from the place of images, that when you go through life, there are many events in your life that makes up you. But many times, people who struggle with an unhealthy self-esteem, they tend to take just one picture from their life. They focus on, just like what Dr. Melanie also talked about. She called it the bottom line. Dr. Kess called it more of just a single image that you use to reflect and define your entire life by. So if someone asks you to speak about yourself, or someone tells you write something about yourself, some people often, or someone gives you a compliment, some people struggle with the concept. They say, okay, I'm not that fantastic. Or if you say something about yourself, people just often talk about the negative. Oh, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I'm not that bold. It's like the default record that plays inside of you because you have that single image. Yeah, I projected the image of, if you play chess, I don't play chess, but I love this image because it kind of captures it. The queen looking into the image and seeing self as a pawn. So the whole concept of self-esteem is not necessarily who you are in reality, but how you see yourself. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as I progress. I said that self-esteem is a learned behavior. It's not a genetic thing. There's nothing like in our family we have low self-esteem. No, it is the experiences of life that makes some people have healthy self-esteem and some other persons have unhealthy self-esteem. You are not born that way. So what are the the four P's that people often draw their self-esteem from? The first thing is, so the four places people often draw their self-value. Some people draw their self-value. Remember, we talked about the concept of the bottom line or the single image. Now, I'm going to talk about four things. There's nothing wrong with these four things, but when you take only one picture or one event and you define yourself by that, you are not doing well for yourself. So one of the places people draw their value from is the past. I talked about the fact that um, life events, experiences in childhood can impact on how you view yourself. Things didn't go right, you are from a disadvantaged background, and those things just kind of define you. You've gone through the years and you've defined the extent of your world by your past. Another thing people often define themselves by is their present position and possessions. Now, these things, yes, they kind of impact on your your self value, how you see yourself. But why I'm mentioning these things is because they are kind of fickle, and they are fickle because today you may be in a particular position in life, or you may have a certain kind of possession. If you define your self value only by these things, there's a tendency that when these things are not present, you devalue yourself. So this is another thing many people use to define themselves. The third thing where people get their value from, or definition of their worth and their and what they can do, is their performance. People often look at, so you, like, just like I mentioned, you say based on your performance in school, or based on your performance in maybe interacting with people, or your performance on the job. And when those things begin to drop, when your performance, when you begin to define yourself by your performance, it has a positive effect on you. But it also, sometimes when those things are taken away, it also kind of impacts on how you value yourself. And the fourth, but not the final thing, is people often draw their values from the people's praise, people's approval, or their level of popularity. That's how they define themselves. That's how they place worth on themselves. And we're going to look at what a healthy self-esteem. So people draw their self-esteem from people's approval. I did not know for a long time that it really mattered to me. And something I heard that I would say was quite helpful was that when you are someone who draws your value from people's approval or people's praise, then their disapproval or their lack of praise can almost kill you. Because when you don't get that, and that's why we're all big on getting the number of likes, and we value ourselves when someone says, "Oh, I'm an introvert, I don't have so much friends," and all that, because we are drawing our values from that. And we will look at what are the healthier ways to draw your value. So, what does a healthy self-esteem look like? How would you, when you see someone that, how would you know what are the characteristics of a healthy self-esteem? Is it someone that, sometimes a healthy self-esteem can be misconstrued for being proud, but sometimes it can, someone who is proud actually struggling with a low self-esteem also. So what do you look out for? What how does it play out? Number one, I have a list of things here. The summary of having a healthy self-esteem is loving yourself as a whole person and knowing your uniqueness, allowing yourself to be you. Number two, I wrote down here, being authentic, kind of similar, being authentic, staying true to yourself, to what you believe to be right. So you are not one that goes with what is popular. You know, some people often say, "Oh, this is what is trending. This is what everybody is doing." A person with a healthy self-esteem will do what he or she is comfortable with, not necessarily what everybody is doing. Some people don't like to be the odd one out. Someone with a healthy self-esteem doesn't really care about that, as long as it synchronizes with their values. Someone kind of close to me, someone kind of close to me, someone with a healthy self-esteem is not overly bothered. Is concerned about their self-image, and not overly concerned. They are not. It doesn't hold a sway over them. The fifth thing. So the fifth thing, yeah, they're all kind of similar. If you notice, having healthy boundaries with other people and treating yourself with dignity and respect. I like a statement I read earlier today. It said sometimes you leave not because you are proud, but because you respect yourself. So you treat others with respect, but you also treat yourself with respect. The seventh thing here is focusing on your life without the need to compare yourself to others. That's how you know someone who has a healthy self-esteem. It doesn't have to constantly say, "I'm better than this person, I'm smarter than this person, or I'm wealthier than this person," to draw their value or their worth. Doesn't matter how whatever is going on in someone else's life, or what cars or what possession the other person have. Someone with a healthy self-esteem is happy, genuinely happy for them, but is focused on his or her life. And being able to acknowledge, which is what I just talked about, being able to acknowledge critical of other people's achievement. Oh, maybe they are this, maybe they are not all that, all of that. Always constantly looking for what is negative and why that is not so true. That, it kind of doesn't tell on the other person, but it tells more on how you value yourself. Another thing is being okay with spending time alone. You know, some people that struggle with some unhealthy self-esteem tend to always want people around them, want to be validated, want people to often tell them I love you. You know, they want to hear it constantly. If you don't tell them, they feel uncomfortable. They want to finish a presentation. I'm laughing because I used to feel that too. I'd get on and say, you did so well. There's nothing wrong with these things. But if you have a healthy self-esteem, you wouldn't place so much value to the point where it begins to impact on your mood in a terrible way. Another thing is taking responsibility for your feelings and your actions instead of blaming other people or your circumstances. You know that you this a person with a healthy self-esteem doesn't say I'm going through this because of this other person. They take responsibility. They take responsibility for how they feel. They don't say, oh, well, I lost it because you acted this way. No, they take responsibility for how they feel. They are not bullies. They are not like trying to exact unnecessarily emotional display. They take responsibility. They say I acted. They will express themselves. I acted this way because I felt this way, and they take ownership. Very important. And then finally, being open to change what you do not like in your life and what is changeable. So they are also not people who just are opinionated, but they are people who are open. They don't just say, okay, this is what I believe, I hold on to this, I don't care. No, they are open. Can I make improvement? They are always open to making improvement, not insisting on staying the way they are. And finally, believing that you are worthy. A person with a healthy self-esteem believes that they are worthy of the best things life has to offer. I like this point. Good health, love, affection, financial abundance, professional success. Someone with a healthy self-esteem believes is worthy of these things. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm a worm. What they call the humble program. I'm a worm. I'm not worthy of. Maybe other people can get it. I'm not worthy to live in that kind of place or this kind of place. I can't enjoy such things. No, someone with a healthy self-esteem says, I'm worthy. I can have it too. There's nothing that says I can't have it. They may not necessarily get all of that, but they do not disqualify themselves. Just the same way I had disqualified myself. Not that I didn't want to. I literally envied Gabriel on the day that Gabriel came taught. But you see, I had excluded myself from the best things of life. I had excluded myself. And you may just be there listening, excluding yourself because calling it humility. But the truth is that it's because of your self-esteem. You don't feel you are worthy of having the good things of life. You don't feel you are worthy of having the best things of life. So you don't come to terms with the real issue. You say, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I don't really want those things. It's not everybody that will get it. No, please, you are worthy, and it's important you know that. So let's go straight into it. How do I then build my self-esteem? What are the practical things that I can do? Because we have seen that having a healthy self-esteem is associated with happiness and living your best version is associated with that. It's not so much about possessions or all of that, but it also allows you to have possessions. It allows you to have good health. It allows you to have friendship. It allows you to have love in your life and be happy. Be actually happy, having a good self-esteem. So let's go into it. The first things first is document your life story. Tools to building your self-esteem: document, write it down. Write it down. It's not just enough to just put it there in your head. Remember, I talked about the bottom line that Dr. Merlin put forward, and then Dr. Kess talked about the single image that people often bring when I say when someone says something about you. I'm an introvert. I'm no good. I'm all of that. I have a big nose. I have a big ear. I have a small but I have a small bust. All those images. That's so sometimes you need to literally write down about you. Write down the positive things about your life. Because when you write down, there's a tendency to be more objective when you are writing. When you think, sometimes you are irrational in your thoughts. But when you take down your pen and begin to write down about your life, and you begin to document the things that you have achieved and the things that you have done through life, you begin to see that, well, I'm not so bad. I'm not all that bad. I have good things. I have positive things about myself. It helps you to it helps to motivate you. It helps to maintain your positivity. So write it down. I remember one day someone, it was actually my wife, she wrote down certain things about me over the years, my experience, and it was a good read, even though I didn't write it down. But having a document of my life really made me see that, well, it's not all that bad. You are not all that bad. So sometimes you need to write it down. The second thing you can do is something called the point of pride. Let me quickly give credit to because some of these things, of course, in preparing for this webinar, I had to do a lot of research. So I give a lot of credit to Think. They were quite the information I got on their video was quite helpful. So some of these things they also shared. I just tweaked some, and also Brian Tracy's video and a lot of other people. But these two um, come up really high there. So the point of pride. What is the point of pride? Point of pride is actually it's a statement that means something which produces a feeling of self satisfaction, especially an accomplishment. So you want to also set a goal. Goal setting and achieving your goal has a way it boosts your value, how you see yourself. So you want to take a goal, something that is manageable, like we often hear the word a smart goal, something that is manageable, but something that will stretch you. And you want to put all your focus on that goal and achieve it. Maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's going to college, maybe it's writing your CV, maybe it's changing, whatever. Just set a goal. Maybe it's even saving a certain amount of money. Maybe you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to um, set aside this amount of money. Set something that is exciting, something that motivates you. Set a goal and put all of your focus. Focus on that. By creating and achieving these goals, you give yourself a constant sense of motivation. So don't just go into the I like to do that, set something. When you achieve your goal, set another goal. The thing about achieving goals is that when you achieve a goal, there's a tendency that you feel stronger and you feel more worthy. That's the word I'm looking for, more worthy to take on another larger goal. So set goals. The point of pride: set goals and achieve your goals. The third thing is be aware of yourself. Be self-aware by studying yourself. What do I mean by this? Take note of your words and your thoughts. Do you find yourself overcompensating? That's Take out time to study you. Study how you talk. When someone says to you, "Oh, you look good," take note of your kind of response. Maybe no, we thank God, or something. You always belittle yourself, or someone asks you for a favor, and then you feel a need to always say yes because you feel you are not worthy. Just take out time, slow down, pay attention to yourself. Are you overrating other people? You see other people's life, and you find every time you often feel that every other person has a better life, or every other person is doing much better than yourself. Your friends are doing better. You always overvalue what other people have, and you have a tendency to undervalue yourself. So take out time, please, to study yourself. Study how you talk to yourself. Study how you respond when people praise you. Study how you even, just study yourself. If you find yourself, like I mentioned earlier, always someone comments you and you're always going negative, always going negative about yourself, always belittling yourself, what you need to do after studying yourself is begin to make small changes. They don't have to be big changes, just one change after the other, gradual changes. You could Learn when someone says you look good, learn to say thank you. Rather than say, oh, I didn't wear my shirt well. It's just said you look good. You know, you focus on those little things. Then the fourth thing, kind of associated with the third, where after becoming aware, is be kind to yourself. Practice what is called self-compassion. If you have a friend or a loved one, or someone that while going through life, they talk harshly at you, most of us will gravitate away from such a person. Most of us will. Another thing is, if someone comes to you and says, oh, I feel bad, I feel unworthy, I feel all of that, you are most likely going to speak kindly to that person. You are likely going to say, no, it's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. You are most likely going to be gentle with that person. That same principle that you apply to someone else, apply to yourself. When you fail, when you do not perform well, remember I talked about the four things people often draw themselves from, and they paint only one image, latch onto one image. When you fail, you don't perform well, be kind to yourself. Say, well, I made a mistake, but it's not the end of the world. Along with that, there's a concept called so when we go through tough times, when we go through difficult situations that kind of weight us down, there are most times we have two responses: either to be in complete denial or to be overly critical of ourselves. So you say something about someone, you say, okay, you didn't wear your shirt right. We go into a complete, some of us like to go into a complete denial to preserve ourselves. We just say, no, 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 I'm not that, it's not my mistake, and in a bid to maintain what is called preserving the good. You want to preserve your perfect life. Or some other times when we make mistake, especially this is really for those who struggle with, who have some level of perfectionism, or you have some level, when you make mistake, rather than just waving it aside or being overly critical, being what we call preserving the good, you have to forgive the bad. Be able to forgive yourself. Being kind to yourself also means being able to forgive yourself. To say, you know what, you made a mistake and that's fine. Be gentle. It's not the end of the world. Get up again. Be kind to yourself. The fifth thing is carve out, draw motivation from your past. So you may be in a season of your life right now that you are feeling low, you're feeling unworthy, you're feeling unsure of yourself, you're feeling like your confidence. Like I said earlier, we all go through various phases in our lives. It's like some people, it's not like you've always been for much longer than others, but certain illness change people. So someone has an illness, and then the person loses their self-worth. Sorry about that. Person loses their self-worth, or a certain event. Maybe you lost you lost a relationship, you became divorced, and then you are now that, or you had pregnancy out of what they call it now, out of wedlock, and you begin to play that bottom line picture, that one single image in your mind. You begin to define yourself by that event, and you may be feeling low. And every time you think of yourself, you always think of yourself in that image, or that one that bottom line statement, overly simplistic statement, defining yourself overly in a simple way. Now, what you need to do is sometimes you need to go back into the past, to that time when you did not struggle with self-esteem, to that time when things were good for you, when you were confident, and begin to document and begin to ask yourself, what was it about me in that era of my life? What was it about? What gave me that confidence? From your past, sometimes you can draw strength, and then you will begin to take action in the now to replicate what you were in the past. So sometimes you can go into your past and draw motivation. I am not my current situation. I am not my current position. For some people, maybe they were excellent in school, or had excellent relation in the past. You need to go back into your past and draw motivation from your past and say, look, this too will pass. I'm not my present situation. I'm not my present position. I can go into my past and get that. The 16, and we're almost at the end. The 16 is carve your own path and cherish your individuality. I love this so much. I was talking with a 14-year-old recently, and she said, I am a 16-year-old, and she said, I'm an introvert. And I said, please don't be quick to define yourself, because you see, back to that single image. You define yourself by that one image. You are much more than just one image. You are much more. You are a complex person. You are not just that event. Have your own part. Be your own individual. You stand out. In research, I was reading something said that he said, regardless of our age, everyone likes to fit in. That's normal. No one wants to be the odd one out. No one wants to stand out. But research has shown, there's a massive research that was on thousands of people, and it showed that it says that there was people that spend their time trying to fit in. People who spend their time trying to fit in, on the average, have lower self-esteem. Always wanting to be, to belong to a particular class. If you check those people who feel that I have to do this to belong, like they say, you have to belong. People esteem. This kind of also is associated with another thing I read. It said research has shown a strong relationship between social media and self-esteem. So quite a number of people, you want to see the number of likes, the number of followers. There's nothing wrong with those things. But carve your own path. Cherish your individuality, cherish your uniqueness. You are you. You do things differently. You may not speak like that other person. You don't have to speak like that person. You may not look like that other person. You may not even have the temperament of the other person. It's fine. Growing up those days, they will make it look like certain individuals are leaders and certain individuals are followers. Everyone, regardless of your temperament, regardless of your personality. I recently did a personality assessment last year. And one of the things he said about my type of personality, one, he says is very unique. And then he says the temperament I did said, the personality assessment I did said, people like me are more individualistic. We like to do our things alone, and I just smiled to myself, because that was in some group of people say, oh, that means you are not a team player. It doesn't mean you are not a team player. Understand yourself, understand your uniqueness, carve your own part, create your own path. Create your own path. Be comfortable with being you. Cherish yourself. Cherish your uniqueness. It's very important. And then finally, and not the last, finally and the last, finally and not the least, that's what I meant to say, is remind yourself of your true value. Let me share two stories here. Remind yourself of your true value. Remember, I said in the beginning that your self-esteem is not a genetic thing. It's not something that was created. It's not in your genes. It's something that life experiences kind of puts on you. There's this illustration I love so much. If you take a 1,000 naira note, for example, and you squeeze that 1,000 naira note, I wish I could get responses, but I believe you respond. If you squeeze that 1,000 naira note and you step on that 1,000 naira note and you pour water on that 1,000 naira note and you abuse that 1,000 naira note, would it change the true value of the 1,000 naira note? It won't. Would the 1,000 naira note, because of its experiences, now have the value of a 200 naira note? It won't. However, if I were to present to you a squeezed, rubbish, not so nice looking 1,000 naira note and a cripsy 1,000 naira note, you are likely going to take the cripsy 1,000 naira note. But when you go to the market, their value still remains the same. So understanding that and why is it 1,000 naira note? Because that's how it was created to be. That is from the point of growth, that is its true value. is true value and not life's experiences. Now, this is important because it is said that how you knowing yourself, the kind of person that let me just read out what I wrote here. Knowing yourself, the kind of person that you are, is really where most of your self-esteem will proceed from. Remember, I talked about past positions, present possessions, all of that, people's praise, people's approval. But knowing where your true value comes from is what really serves as the foundation of how you view yourself. So you story at this point, I hope I'll be able to take briefly questions or comments. I put this line here because I read this story once in a book about a cub that was found by a farmer. And this farmer took the cub home and raised it among sheep. And while it was being raised among sheep, it grew up along with the sheep. And one day they all went to graze. And while they were grazing, they got to a particular forest. And as they got to that forest, all the sheep, all the sheep decided running back frantically, and they were scared. And when this young lion, raised his head and looked towards the forest where they were running away from, he saw mighty just and he ran away also along with again. This time they got close to a river, running frantically, screaming, running away for its life. But this second time, it was only the lion that was running. Every sheep kept grazing. They did not move. They were not frantic. They were not afraid. And he was wondering what was happening. Why didn't we all run like we did the other day? Apparently, what had happened this second time was that when they got to the river, this lion looked into the river and saw its own image. But you see, that was the first time he was coming to terms with his true value, his true worth. And he saw the beast they had seen the previous day. So it ran in fright, thinking that it was seeing the beast once again. Now, on the third occasion, they went out again. This time, this lion came in contact with the big lion that was there earlier. And so the big lion looked at the small lion and growled. And then the small lion attempted to growl. And then at some point, it was just going back and forth, just typical Lion King movie, if you understand what I mean. They just went back and forth. And then finally, the big lion was about to go into the forest. And then he turned back and looked at the young lion like, are you going to come along? At that point, the young lion knew that he had to make a decision whether to go with the big lion or to stay with what he was familiar with the sheep. What I want to bring out from this story as I round up is this. Because it was unique and different, standing out. Perhaps the other sheep may have laughed at it, maybe said to it, your ears are too short or too big, your eyes are funny, you look awkward, you walk awkward. Maybe sometimes when it tried to exert itself, they may have said to it, you are proud, you are proud. They must have said a lot of things. I kind of have a feeling this African story that I read, when I read it was about leadership, but just playing it in my head, I kind of have a feeling that it's possible that young lion growing up in that community must have felt awkward and maybe struggled with self-esteem. But what he failed to realize was that his true value, that it was a lion. So I leave you with this. One of the things you do when you understand your true value is you begin to speak words to build your self-esteem. I am loved. I am worthy. I am the best. I can do all things. Whatever, you begin to speak those words to yourself. You are speaking forth your true value. What you truly, I deserve the best. I deserve the good things of life. You begin to tell yourself that rather than exclude yourself. If you want something out of life, you desire something out of life, a kind of life, regardless of where you are, you begin to speak those words because you remind yourself of your true value. So there you have it, folks. I hope this was helpful. points I have to share with us today on how you so much. I will stop sharing at this point. Feedback or questions also. Thank you so much. Anyone with questions? We have a few minutes. Okay, you can put up your hand while we are waiting to ask our question. Let me just quickly say, so I am the medical director of Grace Hill. Grace Hill is Grace Hill Place Hospital. It's a mental health facility where we specialize in dealing with mental health issues and also addiction issues. It's located on the mainland in Lagos. Um, Precisely, it's located in Lakeview Estate, Amu, Odofin. That's where we are located. And you can find out more about us by going to the website www.gbhs. GBHS stands for Grace Hill Behavioral Health Services.com.ng. Thank you so much. Any questions? Any comments? Uh-oh. Thank you. Do have a nice day. Thank you everyone for joining in. Do have a nice day. Okay. Sorry. I see. Okay. Thank you so much for this enlightening great present. Thanks so much. Okay. 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 I see our comments. Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. 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 Thank you everyone. Bye bye.